So here's the thing. If you do not love yourself unconditionally as a woman, you are much more likely to attract a man that does not fully respect you. Whatever you do not have within yourself first, when it comes to love, when it comes to acceptance, you are going to be looking for this outside of yourself. And that is why a lot of women end up in relationships where they are not honored. Our mothers are the ones that teach us how to relate to ourselves. And if our mothers love us conditionally, if our mothers accept us conditionally, subconsciously, we have this relationship with ourselves. Because your mother is supposed to be the one that loves you unconditionally. But the reality is most of us haven't had this. So we have to look at what this creates. Your relationship is the most intimate way that you are experiencing love. So if you had a mother that loved you conditionally, you are going to feel as though in one way or another, you have to work for this love. You have to earn this love. That is why most likely you will continue to go for people that you feel you have to earn their love. And this is all very subconscious. Even if you fall in love and you have this romantic whirlwind romance, I guarantee you, once it dies down and you actually look at the dynamic you have with your partner and you actually look at how they treat you, if they are consistent with their emotions or if it's hot and cold, if there is an avoidant and insecure dynamic going on in terms of attachment, all of it essentially stems from whether or not you have unconditional love as your baseline. If you do not have unconditional love for yourself, you are going to continue to play out the scenarios that keep showing you don't have this established. Because when you have unconditional love for yourself, you don't accept anything that disrespects you because you love yourself so much. A lot of people don't really understand unconditional love. It is love without any condition needing to be present, which means you love yourself whether or not you have friends in your life. You love yourself regardless of what your bank balance is showing. You love yourself regardless of whatever job you have or do not have. There is no external circumstance that affects the love you have for yourself. As I said, the majority of us had mothers that loved us conditionally because they were in survival. It is not their fault. We are not blaming them. We are simply taking an honest look at the dynamics we were raised under, because this is what dictates the dynamics we continue to play out. You are gonna go for what is familiar in one way or another. If you are raised on conditional love, to some degree, you will also want a relationship that is chaotic in nature. You want to feel the intensity. You want to feel the extreme because you don't have that established as something safe within you. When you have unconditional love established, you have this calm set point. People talk about secure attachment. Where does secure attachment actually come from? It comes from loving yourself first, regardless of what is happening in the external. When you have a parent that loves you no matter what, that is always there for you, and it has to be your mother first. Yes, your father loving you unconditionally, of course, it's important, but when you don't have that from your mother, nothing can replace that in the early years. It has to be established. You will constantly be searching for it one way or another until you realize, I'm not actually looking for love. I'm looking for approval. I'm looking for the thing that tells me I am enough. Because unconditional love tells you you are enough. Because you don't need anything to be worthy of love. So this is incredibly important, and I think this is something that is not spoken about enough when it comes to us as women understanding why we make the choices we do, why we go for the partners we do, and why we continue to be in relationships to the degree that we are in them when they don't honor us, when they are not healthy, and yet that seems to be the only thing we want. So I think this is one of the key pieces, if not the key piece. Because as much as we want to talk about how the relationship with the father affects women in dating, I truly believe it is the relationship with the mother that dictates far more why you choose the partners you do. As much as you want to say that you're independent and that, you know, you have your standards, having high standards without having unconditional love established, it's not really going to work. Because you can have the high standards all you want, but if you still crave this love outside of yourself, you will still attract this need for validation on some level. The high standards, of course, have them because that's what protects you, but you have to get to the root of it. And our relationship with our mother is how we understand ourselves. Our relationship with our father is how we understand the external world. So yes, how you relate to men is going to be modeled through your father. But if you do not have unconditional love established with yourself, that is going to be the driving force when you're interacting with men. When you don't have a relationship with your father, or when you do not have a good relationship with your father, on some level you will deem men as unsafe. You will not really know how to be with them. But if you do not have a good relationship with your mother, or if you do not have a relationship with your mother, then that essential piece of how you relate to yourself, that's not there. That's going to affect everything. So I think a lot of us are coming to terms with the various ways that the mother wound plays out. I think a lot of us are realizing actually this plays a significant role, and one that we may have underestimated up until this point, because let's face it, this is not something that is widely spoken about. That's why you have the term daddy issues. Daddy issues has been this widely used term, and while there is something to be said for the relationship between the daughter and the father, there's a lot more to be said about the relationship between the daughter and the mother. If this is not something that is familiar to you, if this feels alien, let this be the beginning of your journey to understanding yourself through this lens. Because I guarantee you, once you start to build this relationship with yourself where you have love for yourself, no matter what is present or absent in your life, that is when you actually are whole. I don't care what anyone says. Wholeness can only come from unconditional love for yourself. If you love yourself conditionally, you cannot be whole. Because there is always going to be something outside of you that you are going to be seeking love through. And that is very dangerous, especially for women. So I'm glad you could be here to watch this, and I will see you in the next video.